Good morning, folks. I wanted to talk this morning about this new 500 Worlds book that has already been thoroughly dissected online, but I've just finished it. And so this morning the weather's awful and I can't undercoat, so I figured I'm going to take a look at this. I just finished with the book yesterday, last night, and there's some damn awesome stuff in here. Especially as an Ultramarine fan, of course, because, 500 Worlds, Ultramar and everything. So yeah, I just wanted to go through it with you guys and kind of recap it in my thoughts before I probably put it away forever. So the 500 Worlds is set in the realm of Greater Ultramar. Guilliman is off trying to rebuild his old empire. And Titus has been, from Space Marine 2, has been tasked with helping out in that. It was actually one of my concerns when I first heard about the book, that it seemed, at least the way the Warhammer community talked about it, it seemed that they were going to retcon or overlook some of the established canon lore from the Dark Imperium books and the other ones, basically all the Guy Haley Ultramarine stuff. And I was completely wrong. It was just the way that they had worded it. Very happy to see about that. As we can see here, Nightbringer, who's really important in this book. That's pretty much what the whole thing is about the Nightbringer. The story about Titus. There's other stuff going on, but this story about Titus is more or less all about the Nightbringer. Ultramarine Reclamation. This was a really cool passage. This is the sort of declaration that Guilliman gives. He does have some cool speeches. There was a particular part in that I rather liked. It's so funny. Where is it? Theory and pragmatism alone cannot sustain us as we reclaim the 500 worlds. Instead, I urge you, my sons, look to vengeance, to honor, to righteous wrath. How dare aliens make their festering lairs upon worlds that used to be ours? How long should we permit betrayers to mock us with every breath they draw? Unpunished for their insults against us, I say to you, no longer. We are the Ultramarines, first amongst equals, the Emperor's finest. It is time we reminded our enemies and our allies of this truth. It's awesome stuff, but it's so funny that it just kind of, it's like the juxtaposition between that and the Necrons. They believe the same thing, of course, that this is our empire. No, this is our empire. Great stuff, though. This picture as well, I've seen this shared around online. People were talking about how, oh, look, it's Guilliman in the new armor. Maybe he's getting a new model. This actually is called the Armor of Reason. It's what Guilliman wore during the heresy. And this is a statue, obviously, because you can kind of see the little fellas. And this is in the on the Fortress of Hera on Macragge, in the Temple of Correction. This is where Roboute Guilliman used to be when he was in stasis. And when he came out of stasis, when he woke up and started going around again, they replaced it with a statue. And so that's what that is. These maps, I normally am a big fan of maps. They're awesome, don't get me wrong, I like the maps, but a lot of them are confusing. As you go through the book, you'll be basically given a section that they're going to focus on, and they'll show you a map, and they'll teach you some like blurb about it. But they don't seem to line up, which is a shame. So this is just generally talking about the 500 worlds. These are called the Tetrarchies, if I'm pronouncing that right. We've got up here the Vespader front. That's where Titus is. And this is where the book mainly takes place in this section. Then you've got Inner Ultramar, which is kind of what Ultramar used to be for the last, out of the lore. Macragge and Espandor, Ajax, all the rest of it. So this is the Ultramar that we kind of know, and these are the surrounding fronts. The Konor front, which is a firm favourite of mine, purely because my Warlord Titan is from that area. And then you've got the other ones down here. So this is the where, what's his name? The new Captain Ferian Arios, I believe, is down in the Western Tetrarchy. And then Southern Tetra. So again, this is just showing you where it's expanding. And we get a little bit of lore blurb. This is Acheran's fall. So obviously they decided that Titus was going to be the main poster boy for not just Ultramarines, but really just the whole of the whole of 40k. And so I'm afraid, Acheran, you had to step aside. And by step aside, I mean you had to lock yourself in a hive world and take on probably millions of gene stealers. What a way to go. I hope we get some artwork of that. Him and Chiron, of course, who was the ancient at the time, I believe. Really cool story. A lot of people gave it shit online. Excuse me for my tea. A lot of people weren't happy with that. I don't mind. Acheran has never been really like a main character or anything. He's always been kind of just there. Chiron's been around for 5 minutes. Why they replaced Chiron with Meteorius, I don't really know. I guess Amazon maybe had something to do with that. Doesn't bother me at all. I thought that their fall, their final, the way that they went out was pretty damn cool. Like half the Second Company locking themselves in a hive that they thought was loyal, and taking on all the inhabitants. But yeah, that's just generally talking about the Ultramarines, and there's the 4 tetrarchies there, the lore of the realm. And they also had to explain why, because obviously at the start of 10th edition, you had the Leviathan attack. So a bunch of the Ultramarines were actually on the western part of the galaxy, and they had to come back. Because if you know your galaxy, you've got, if this is your galaxy map, this is kind of where Leviathan happens, and Macragg's like over here. So it took them a while. It should take decades, really. But a bit like Game of Thrones, things teleport about all over the place these days. This is a really cool page. I love this one. This is the Shield chapters of Greater Ultramar. These are the 10 chapters that Guilliman has installed in Ultramar to basically look after the realm. So it's no longer just the Ultramarine chapter. Obviously, these are all successors of the Ultramarine, so they all come from Guilliman's lineage. But these are some awesome ones. We've got classic chapters like the Size of the Emperor, the Nova Marines, everyone knows them. Silver Skulls, which are pretty cool. But then there's some new ones as well, like the Aquilone Brotherhood. And the really important thing is, I was chatting to a fella that makes lore videos the other day. Some of these didn't actually have iconography. They didn't actually know what they looked like. So I think this is one of them, the Aquilone Brotherhood. We now know what they are, the Praetors of Ultramar. Color schemes. I'd love to do like maybe a little, like a Death Watch team or something with all these guys. I think that could be fun. Yeah, the Reborn, that's another new one as well. I think they are anyway. Duty Until Death, the Doom Eagles. The Doom Eagles have been around for ages. They actually feature in this book a bit because, well, not because, but they feature in the book. And their background, their story is that they, well, it says here, the Doom Eagles are entirely focused on the acceptance of their inevitable death. So one of their things that they would say, like their chaplains would say, good luck to you on the road to your death, or something like that. Very cool. Yeah, and here's some more color schemes. Ultramarines Sixth Company. I don't know how they do this orange. I'd like to learn how to do that. I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of looks gold to me. But it's orange, apparently. Size of the Emperor. Everyone knows their color scheme. I'm not a big fan of, like, the weird yellow nappy thing that they have around them, but other than that, they're a cool chapter. I like them a lot. So we got a bit of blurb about Titus. Everyone knows about Titus these days. Effectively, all it says is that it's basically justifying why he's captain again. And of course, the real reason he's captain again is because, oh my gosh, Space Marine 2 made like £15 million for Games Workshop. and we want to do more stuff with Titus. Again, this was my big concern. They gave him the title Warden of Ultramar. And this is where things get a little bit, it's because the Wardens, the Defenders of Ultramar, are the Fourth Company. And I was a little dubious how that's all going to fit in, but this book does kind of explain things later on and how it all fits together. The actual Fourth Company do show up a little bit in this. They talk about them, and they talk about Ventress. Effectively, this just says that he was away when Acheran was fighting and made it back. And it also talks a bit about how he's got a ship now. He's got the strike cruiser Righteous Fury, which I would assume, I haven't actually checked, but I would assume that's the ship that you have in Space Marine 2 where it takes place. I should probably double check that. I'd like to know. And he goes around with his advisors, the Wardens of Ultramar. So he is the Warden of Ultramar, and he goes around with his retinue called the Wardens of Ultramar. It's a bit like the Iron Hands and Ferrus Manus, I guess. I love, by the way, the Wardens of Ultramar. I have the box over there to my right, but they are so cool. So yeah, everyone knows who Titus is. They talk a little bit about his great deeds. I think he took on a Norn emissary. Is this in this page? Yeah. It was Titus II who delivered the final blade stroke to saw the head from the Norn emissary, codenamed the Ghoul of Rashlav, and in doing so prevented the collapse of the Agri World's defense lines. So he's taken out a Norn now. His deeds are growing. And here we have the Wardens of Ultramar. Really cool artwork. Not you. I don't know what happened here. I have no idea. I love all the other artworks. Gaius Silva, he's definitely one of my favorites, as is Lucia Vesta, these two. All the artwork's great, except for this one. It's like he's just woken up, or I don't know, it's just bad. We learn about, basically we've got the Ancient, so he carries the banner, and he seems to be giving a lot of speeches these days. I don't remember that from Space Marine 2, but he talks a lot, and he was able to rally defenses of worlds and things. We got Metaurus. We know him from Amazon's Secret Level. He recruited Titus, and now he's kind of his mentor or whatever, and hangs around with him. Effectively, he's just a Blade Guard sergeant. Gaius Silva, he's in charge of the fleet, so he's master of the fleet. Amelia Minervus. Amelia Minervus. I'm nervous. She is in charge. She's a legate. So she is leader of the 30th McCrag Defense Auxilia. Awesome model. I really hope they bring out, they won't, but I hope they bring out like an upgrade kit for some Imperial Guard. I would love to make this for the tabletop. Daniel Cornelius, who's the astropath. He doesn't really do too much in this book. He's the one that contacts, later on, the Fourth Company. That's pretty much all he does. And then Lucia, who's got a really cool role. She's effectively, what'd you call it? I forget the name. They appear in the Heresy all the time. A herald of the fleet and of Ultramar. So she goes ahead of the fleet normally, and she says to governors, like, you guys are coming back into Ultramar, and this is why that's a good idea. The politician or whatever it says here. She's really cool. Her model's awesome. Although I will say that, I don't know what you guys think. That looks like ginger hair to me, right? Right? And for some reason on the model, they've painted it brown, so she's getting painted ginger. On my one when I get round to it. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, see? That's her there. And again, maybe one of the reasons why I like Gaius Silva is his model is so cool. Love it. Metaurus, for some reason, has lost his axe, but whatever. Okay, this is actually, reading back over it, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video. I get to actually just take my time and look. One of the things that comes up later on in the book is when they're on the the planet where they're fighting against the Necrons. Titus does have some First Company veterans with him, so it's nice to see these dudes kind of show up. As is tradition for the First Company of Ultramarines, they do get wiped out. So this is what I was talking about earlier, right? So here's your map page. This is actually one of the ones that is probably the most useful, and you have to keep referring back to it. But they are a bit confusing. So we learn about the Addermung front. This is where the Doom Eagles are with, what's his name? Possibly, no, not Farron. Farron's with Agaman. Never mind, forget what I just said. He's in this section. But I love these maps. So you kind of learn a lot. What people don't realize, I guess, is that the worlds, they don't generally just kind of like fly wherever they want. They do follow these lines. So these lines are the warp routes that are safe. So if you imagine these are like stable warp routes where ships are able to pass. So connecting the worlds up is obviously super important. And it's something that may have not been a thing for a while in 40k. Maybe they added it later or whatnot, but you can kind of see that it's really important, because otherwise you could just go anywhere. What actually makes the Imperium as powerful is the fact that they have these warp routes. Pretty much all other races have to travel at slower than light speed. So things like Tau can't really do it. They've got to use their own different methods. Orcs just throw themselves into the warp. Necrons, I guess, have their portal technology, which is why they're different, I guess, and so do the Eldar, these webways. But the reason why the Imperium is so powerful is because of their ability to go anywhere in the galaxy through the warp, and so they're not limited to where they have their portals or anything like that. People kind of forget about that, or maybe Games Workshop have stopped talking about it. And this is our main sort of area where the book takes place, on this planet down here, Nova Magnor. The rest of this stuff doesn't really feature too much, because that's where it all. So they were, I guess, Titus was chasing the Tyrannids, and then the kind of Necrons became the main priority. And then you had over here Orc Pirates. I think there was some Fourth Company there. And that's where the reinforcements end up coming from. The Cursed Legion. And of course, here's the villains. So here's the bad dudes. Effectively, it's all about a big Necron destroyer who's fallen to their curse, whatever it's called. I forget what their Necron's curse is called. His whole thing is he just wants to kill all life in the galaxy, and to do that he wants to bring back the Nightbringer, and not just a shard of the Nightbringer. He wants to collect all the shards together and then rebirth the Catan god, who has a name now. I mean, he probably already had one, but it was news to me. Is it here? It's like a proper Cthulhu style name. We'll probably come across it. It's probably here. I don't see it though. And there he is. It's a cool model. I actually kind of want to buy this. Ammentar, the Nekrosor Ammentar. There he is, eating an Ultramarine. Give yourself to death. It is the fundamental entropic truth of the universe. You first. So yeah, that's just all about him and how effectively he goes around all over the place. He doesn't, he's basically causing quite a ripple in the Necrons' already divided empire, with the different dynasties, and he just goes wherever he wants, trying to find these Nightbringer shards. Silent King's not exactly best pleased with all that, and the Silent King are fighting the other guy. What's his name? Imhotep or something like that. So the Silent King will have to deal with him eventually, or try and deal with him, and so that's set up for Necron fans, which I am. I'm a Necron fan. Yeah, the Destroyers and the Flayed Ones. I was reading, actually, it's interesting. Necrons are probably the biggest Ultramarine, like, big bad that they've always got to fight against. Like, I was reading the Sicarius books, The Fall of Damnos, where Sicarius effectively tries to do the same thing and fails, given what all the memes about Sicarius say. that book is all about Sicarius effectively losing that big battle. That then Titus takes his second company and he's able to do more. But then they are Primaris Marines, you know. You've got all these big threats. You needed the bigger Marines. You needed the bigger war machines. They also had the bigger fleet. They also had the, defense auxiliary and all the rest of it. So I guess Sicarius didn't have the support that Titus had at the time when he was doing it. This talks a little bit about how, what's his name, Ammentar has, other Necrons are flocking to him. They agree with him, which is pretty crazy. There he is. Super cool model. Love it. Yeah, and this brings up another good point. That these images, although they just place random models, I suppose, these are all like in the book. So we know that Titus brought with him, or has with him, a Brutalis Dreadnought, which is named in the book. Doesn't make it out alive though. And there's a Redemptor Dreadnought as well, which that is not a Redemptor, that's a Brutalis. And Chaplain. Leandros is mentioned in this book, by the way. We'll hopefully come across it. The War for Nova Magor. More maps. We like maps. Again, confusing maps, but the first brand, that's the main kind of city, the hub, and then you've got the batteries around it, where all these different battles are take place. And Site Obscurum, that's the main, and Umbra, the big sort of tomb complexes that Titus, he tries to assault it a couple of times. Well, he goes once, and it doesn't go too well. Where are we? World in Torment. Yes, the introduction of the Archmagos Contravant Oct. Archmagos Oct is how they refer to him from now on, or how I'm going to talk about him. He's a great character. I love him in this book. This book really needed him. Effectively, he's an Archmagos that kind of worships the Catan. He thinks that the Catan are like, almost like the Omnissiah's Primarchs, you know, the Omnissiah's sons. And so he wants to get one of these Catans and release it, thinking he's releasing the child of the Omnissiah. He doesn't realize it's the Nightbringer. He's hoping it's the dragon, which, as you may or may not know, the dragon is the shard of a Catan that is deep within Mars, and it's probably responsible for the Adeptus Mechanicus, and the Emperor may or may not have done that on purpose, so that they created all his technology. Talked about in the excellent heresy book Mechanicus, or Mechanicum. But yeah, he's super important. I think this is just a general them making their push. So they wanted to basically take on this this hive and bring a vortex bomb into the hive, and they go through it, and all the hive is shut down, and they're able to just kind of walk through. What they don't realize is that they're walking into a trap, and it's been set by the Ammentar when he was a little bit more lucid. And so they get deep within the hive, right to the place where they want to place this vortex bomb, and they're planning on blowing up this main hub, which will shut down like the web portals and all the rest of it. And at this point, they just think they're dealing with a normal hive. They're not really aware of Ammentar yet. And then, of course, we jump back to the other areas, the northern Tetra, and this is where Agaman is. And you see this blurb is really cool. So this is basically Agaman being awesome, and he's each of these little blue sections where he switches channel. He's dealing with all this different stuff, and he's taking on all these different battlefields, while also fighting as well. So Agaman's awesome. We like Agaman. And they're dealing with the orcs there, and this is where Farron Arios is. He comes in. Who is from the what's it called? I want to say the Avenging Sun, but it's a Dawn of Fire, the Dawn of Fire series. Yeah, contact Arios. I must know how Siccar Magna fares. And then you go, okay, where's Siccar Magna Fair? And you look at the map, and there's no Siccar Magna Fair, and you've got to kind of flip back to the other map, and you go, where's this blooming place that they're talking about? And it's down here somewhere. Magna Flare. So yeah, it's a bit of a messy way of talking about things. I would have liked the map to have shown what they're talking about. You would expect that, wouldn't you, really? So yes, so then it jumps back to the trap being sprung. Ammentar jumps out, and he kind of, you know, destroys the Ultramarines' advance. But what you find out later on is that this was a planned attack. So the Necrons had used all their planning, and they had tried to basically wipe out the entire assault force, and more than half of them get away. Such is the Ultramarines' awesomeness and Titus's ability to command that more than half of them actually escaped the trap. However, and this is the bit that I wanted to kind of talk about, probably the reason why I'm making this video. We've got this picture up here, right? So we've got Titus, we've got the Ammentar, and in the background you can see some Terminators. And the blurb down here talks about them here. So we've got this bit, this passage. Even as the first of them shambled forward to cut off the Ultramarines' line of retreat, their monstrous master dropped the last 30 feet and crashed down amidst the battle brothers of Squad Gaius. The Nekrosor struck and whirled with terrifying speed for a creature of such bulk, taking Ultramarines apart with macabre efficiency. In a matter of heartbeats, the situation for the Ultramarines had become untenable, victory beyond their grasp. Knowing nothing would be gained by staging some suicidal last stand, Titus ordered the retreat. Bolt weapons thundered, grenades boomed, and melta-beams hissed draconic fury as Titus's warriors blasted a path through their converging foes back to the chamber entrance. Behind them, Squad Gaius fought a selfless rearguard action, displaying courage and honor to the last. They gave their lives to hold back the Nekrosor and its murderous hosts, just long enough for their battle brothers to disengage. Great stuff. However, I want to talk a little bit about Gaius. So the fact that they mentioned Squad Gaius, Ultramarines, he's actually been mentioned before. If you look, you may remember these old beautiful models. These have back banners. Who we got down here? This is Squad Gaius. So he's an old character, I believe. Terminator could Gaius. I mean, to be fair, it could be another Gaius, but I like to believe that this is the same Gaius, and he's made his way, and that's how he ends. But I thought that was really cool that they included that. I kind of joked about it on my X account that that, you know, how dare they and whatnot. But it's cool that they included that. So we, you know, they are remembering all these different little pieces and they're fitting them together. Because I figured, you know, guys, it was just a name that they stuck on a banner or whatnot back in the 90s. But there he is, still going, and he goes out, saving effectively the Second Company. So I thought that was a cool passage. Definitely worth including that. And then we got some more, the Archmagus Oct. He's now got this this Catan shard that he got from the planet, and he's now hoarding it. he's like praying to it and all the rest of it, but it's drawing the Ammentar there. That's the whole reason why Ammentar is on the planet. And he obviously hasn't told Titus any of this, so he's the untrustworthy Admech. So they get back and they're licking their wounds, and they see that this is hopeless. And he knows it. Actually, it's just the passage that Leandros has mentioned. I could be wrong. Effectively, I think he talks about how the Codex, the Codex would have him pull his precious forces back, call upon fresh reinforcements before striking again from a position of strength. Space Marines were not created to hold ground, while the number of defense auxilia and militia at his command were far from inexhaustible. Nevertheless, he was the master of the watch, a defender of Ultramar. Important use of the word a defender of Ultramar, not the defender of Ultramar, which is Uriel Ventris. If he abandoned the Novamagorians to their fate now, what message did that send? Where was the courage and honor in such course? Instead of retreating, abandoning the planet, and coming back with a stronger force, Captain Titus ordered astropathic calls for aid to be sent out at once, and commanded that his forces and those of the locals dig in and weather the storm. He vowed to end whatever this strange new threat was here and now. It would not be permitted to spread and imperil the reclamation of the 500 worlds. So there we go. The Ultramarines know that they're fighting a losing battle, knowing that it's going to probably mean all their deaths, but they do not abandon the citizens of that world, because that's what they do, because they are the good guys. You can leave your thoughts about that in the comments. Encroaching Doom. So we've got I think this is where it goes back. No, this is where we speak a little bit about the distress call going out. There's the 4th Company mentioned. They're hunting orcs in the asteroid belt, so they've got a small strike force. They're going to come on their way and try and help out, but they're not going to arrive in time. So he effectively says, right, we're going to go back to the to that site of the where they were ambushed, and they're going to muster all their strength and go and try and kick their butts. Then we go back to another Tetrarch, the Southern Tetrarchy, where Captain Porton of the Genesis chapter is. Some cool little mentions of all the different types of people that live in Greater Ultramar. We've got the rogue traders here. This one was a kind of funny passage. So this is effectively diplomats that diplomats that had arrived on a planet, and they're trying to say, listen, you guys need to come back to Ultramar. You need to come back into the fold. And the planet is so different than everywhere else. Their system of government is a bunch of cartels that run the planet, and they swap about all the time, constantly. So trying to track down anyone who can actually deal with this is really hard. So there's a bit mentioned right at the bottom. I have a conclave of rejuvenate adepts. So rejuvenate makes them, they rejuvenate, allows them to live long lives. I have a conclave of rejuvenate adepts at my disposal. The cartel will submit in full, even if I have to conclude negotiations with their children's children. So they might be there for a couple of generations, trying to track down the leaders of the planet and making them all agree that they should come back to Greater Ultramar. This is what I'm on about. Like I've talked about this before, again, probably on X or whatnot, that a lot of people say that the Imperium is like a fascist state, and it's shithole. It's a total shithole. But every planet, and there's like over 1 million, there's God knows how many planets, is run with a different set of governance. They've all got different government. The whole point of 40k is that you can tell whatever story you want to tell. And so you can create whatever planet you want to create. And this one kind of points that out wonderfully, that this system of government is very, very different than a lot of the other ones that might be easier to deal with. Nekrosor. So this jumps back, and it says effectively that he got there. He was chasing this shard of the Nightbringer, and he planned to ambush the Ultramarines. But he failed. He utterly failed in what he was trying to do, because the Ultramarines, are Ultra. It talks a little bit about his Oblivion Court, so all his hangers-on, basically. Some of them are not as mad as him, that are trying to carry out his orders. And this is them going back in. And there's the Archmagus Oct again. So he's still got this... he's still sitting there trying to open this shard. And they're like calling out, because he's right next to basically the human enclave. I forget what it's called now. But he's right next to all the humans, and they keep asking, can we get some help? Please help us. The first brand's defenders. And they're just ignoring him. And he realizes to himself that at one point he gets infected. He gets infected by some kind of Necron virus or whatever. And he can't actually give out orders. And he realizes that maybe his role is to just lay down his life so that this shard could be opened. And obviously at that point he's been completely taken over. And there's nothing that anyone can really do at that point to avoid his fate. Captain Felix, again, another tetrarchy. This is what I was really worried about. Like, I thought they were just going to completely overshadow the tetrarchs. And it's so cool to see them in this book. I was so worried about it. But they're all mentioned, they're all there, they're all doing stuff. It's not just Titus taking over Greater Ultramar with like 100 Marines. It's all really, really kind of complex and esoteric. Maybe that's why they've done it. Maybe that's why the map is confusing. They want it to be kind of like a bit vague. But I love that. I think it's great. So this is, down here, this is where we are. So there's Vespeta, where Felix runs the Tetrarch, and then Titus is on Heliodras, I believe. So he's just like one little part of all the stuff that's going on. Is anything worth mentioning here? This just shows you that, what's it called? There's still members of the Death Guard are hanging around. Actually, was that where... Again, I'm trying to find that page about Leandros. Everyone likes talking about Leandros, who did nothing wrong. No, it must be later on. There's them fighting in the battle. So basically there's a world there that right down deep in the hive, you've got the Necrons that have come through, that are rising up from the tomb world, taking on the Poxwalkers, from the Death Guard. And they're chased. Obviously the citizens that live there are trying to flee, and everyone's like, what are you doing up here? So they try and force them down, not realizing that the planet is like erupting into war below their feet. The Death Kneel. Only the coward sees victory and peace. I love that they're including stuff like that again. I've not seen a really cool one like that. These really dark passages that they used to stick on pages. This is them attacking the Archmagos's vault, basically, his forge, where they've got the what's it called? They've got the shard there. So this is Ammentar getting to what he wants. And there he goes, right down the bottom. Only when Ammentar smashed down the doors to the inner sanctum did the androids pause their relentless murder spree. Stalking into the vaulted chamber behind their prophet, the Nekrosor's hosts halted, silent, arrayed in serried ranks. Every ocular lens was fixed upon the tesseract vault at the chamber's center, and the lone figure knelt in deep supplication beside it. Yeah, so he actually tries to like hold it out to Ammentar. He's like, here, take this. And Ammentar obviously just kind of picks him up, flings him into the flayed ones, where he is very quickly dispatched. Which is more than he deserved, because he probably screwed over like God knows how many lives. Meanwhile, you've got Titus going back to where he's left the vortex bomb. Surely this is where Leandros is mentioned. I'm gutted if I won't be able to find it for this. But they're fighting with their way through. This was such an epic scene. Reading all this. Whoever wrote this did a great bang-up job of making it seem like it was you know, life or death. Anyway, they get down to the vortex bomb, where it's set off, I believe. Only once the countdown chrono was running and could not be stopped did Titus give the order for his surviving battle brothers to exfiltrate to the surface. It was time to be gone before Sight Umbra and everything within it was annihilated. Yeah, so they make it down there. There's some cool stuff with dreadnoughts and all the rest of it. Yeah, so that's Iapeton, the Brutalis dreadnought. And then there's also the Redemptor down there as well. I forget his name. I don't see him mentioned. In the aftermath, of course, the thing is, although Titus was successful and he set off the bomb and he's kind of saved the world from the tomb, and all the reinforcements coming in, Ammentar was also successful. He got the shard. And then he's just like, right, I've done my job. I'm off. I'm off to go and get the next one. So, like a Pokemon collector, he, you know, he takes his victory and goes, and Titus takes his victory. So there's not actually a, you know, a defined winner between them. So, and then of course, right at the back. Oh, we got one more, the Western Tetrarchy. This is where we get this really interesting passage some people have talked about, where there is an Inquisitor K, so it could be what, Kyrus or Cryptman, is Cryptman dead? I forget. Where he's talking about how he is not a big fan of Guilliman. I know as the God Emperor is my witness that this massing of strength by the Lord Commander Guilliman, this so-called reclamation, is the unholiest and most subversive seizure of power the Imperium has known since Vandar's reign. I will find it, redacted, you can be sure, so we don't know who he's talking to. If I have to execute every demon worshipper, burn every witch, and call the last Xenos to clear away these impediments obscuring the picture, I will show the galaxy what Guilliman has been hiding. I will show everyone what he is. Guilliman has been dealing with people like this since his revival. People do not like change in the Imperium. It's certainly at the higher levels of governance. The certain Inquisitors and the High Lords of Terror, they don't like the fact that Guilliman has all this power. So, yeah, that was interesting. And then, of course, the big one that got frickin' ruined by a bunch of YouTubers who got this book long before the rest of us plebs could read it, is that, not that I'm bitter, is that the Lion shows up. And it's funny as hell. So the Lion shows up. They're trying to contact them, and he's using like really old codes, and the codes all check out and whatnot. And he brings with him data signifiers from the Consecrators, the Guardians of the Covenant, and the Angels of Redemption. So potentially, probably not, but potentially he could have like a force of like 3,000 plus the Dark Angels, 4,000. I doubt he would bring them all, but we can say there's thousands basically coming. Oh, and they're all Dark Angels. And he says, brother, we need to talk. That's his message. But of course, Guilliman's not there. Guilliman's nowhere to be found. He's already left. The whole reason why the Tetrarchy system was set up was so that he didn't need to be there. He left Marnius Calgar in charge of it all. And he went off doing other things that, unfortunately, were more important to the Imperium. Because, of course, he's not a massive traitor, and he's not doing this for his own sake, and he's not trying to become the Emperor. He is doing it for the betterment and the Emperor's dream, and he's trying to save mankind. But he's off, and he's doing other things. I'm just trying to find this passage with Leandros in it. I'm sure it was around here somewhere. Maybe I've gone too far. Given that I've shown you every page, technically you could go through the whole video and like pause or whatever. I'm sure it was on like this side. Yeah, there we go. Here we are. Having done all he could to provide orders to his forces in the field, Titus took a few precious moments to meditate upon the situation in a quiet side chapel. The abortive attack on Sight Umbra had at least answered some questions. It seemed a sound assumption that the monstrous ambusher had also been the terror from which the tomb ship and its occupants fled. That's where they found the shard that they gave to the Archmagos. Infighting had indeed gripped the Necrons on Nova Magnor. Titus recalled the sickly light pulsing through the tomb and the apparent behaviour of its denizens. He did not know what the creature was, or what malediction it seemingly spread amongst its kin. Chaplain Leandros would doubtless warn against trying to understand, lest Titus be tainted in the attempt. Yet he could not shake the feeling there were aspects of the situation he was not seeing, and could not understand with the information he had. Ignorance was a blind spot that had led him into the ambush in Sight Umbra. It might undo him again if he was not careful. So, Leandros confirmed still alive, still going, and Titus is still thinking about him. So, I love that. I hope we see more of Leandros. I'm a big fan of his. So yes, that was my brief summary, I suppose, of the 500 Worlds Titus book. Loved it. Loved it. Could have been a little bigger, but it was great stuff. Thank you. Bye now.